Welcome on in, everybody. This is From The Bleachers with the Fan Sports Network. My name is Caden Formaster. Thank you for joining me here on the show today, and appreciate you tuning in to From The Bleachers and the Fan Sports Network, wherever it is that you get your podcasts, whether that be on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube as well, where you can watch the show. And man, a lot to get to in the world of sports today. I won't be diving into too much when it comes to the NFL trades and things like that. We did talk about a little bit of that yesterday in the show, so go check that out. But of course, trades always happen after that show is recorded. So the biggest one going down with that big trade between Cleveland and LA, the Rams and the Browns. So if you missed that, go back and watch that episode. We'll probably be talking more NFL coming up later, so stay tuned for that. But today, I want to talk about something that hits really close to home for us here at The Fan. We are, of course, a sports media group that is based out of Southern Utah. And being that we are in the state of Utah, a lot of our local sports is around the entire state. And that includes, of course, Salt Lake City and that market up there. And Salt Lake is right now one of the, if maybe not even the front runner to receive an MLB team if expansion is ever on the table. Now, there have been some conversations in the last few weeks that make it seem like expansion is inevitable. And in fact, it might be sooner than later. And not just that, but that Salt Lake as a market is probably top of the list. I say probably. They have a few options, but it looks like it's Salt Lake and Nashville, as of right now, would be the two cities that expansion would be going towards. A big part of that for Salt Lake has to do with Big League Utah, the coalition that has come forth, and they've brought forth a place. They've got a spot ready to build a stadium. They've got plans in place. They've got funding in place, and they have the backing of a lot of people that are going to be able to make this happen. If the day comes that they say, we are going to put the MLB in Utah, you know, if Robert Manfred comes out and says, this is what's happening, we're going to do it, then it's going to happen. And it seems like Salt Lake is ready for that. They're ready to take on a team and make it successful. I think one of the big reasons why it would be successful in Utah has a lot to do with what happened with the NHL. A state that has had no NHL experience before absolutely embraced this new team, and they have very easily become one of the premier destinations for the NHL, just based off of the fact that people show up, right? People are here for it. They make the playoffs. People are showing up for the playoffs. It helps that the team's been playing well. Don't get me wrong. The Mammoth playing well helps the NHL, and it helps fans want to come out to support games. But that shouldn't have been a surprise. Fans still go to Utah Jazz games, and the Jazz have been horrible for the last 4 seasons or whatever it's been now. So is it a surprise that we think that, hey, maybe Utah would be a good spot for professional baseball? I don't think that's a surprise at all. I think we actually are a fairly big baseball state. I really do. Having been a part of producing and being on play-by-play for the 4A state baseball playoffs, and kind of seeing how at the high school level, how much love there is for the game, I would be shocked if there's not a following for it if and when a team comes to Salt Lake City. In fact, I was just having a conversation with my brother about this, and we were talking about, you know, we both were Cubs fans growing up, and I still am a big Cubs fan, and I watch them quite regularly. And he told me, he's like, you know what? I don't know if I could name a single member of the current Cubs roster. I was like, man, that's kind of sad. Like, we used to watch so many games growing up. He's just like, as an adult, I don't have the time for it. I'm like, well, what do you do when a team comes to Utah and we got a team coming to Las Vegas? I said, are you going to start watching more? He's like, well, if a team comes to Utah, that might just end up being my team at that point, just because I'm so removed from being a Cubs fan when we were kids. And I'm like, that's fair. That's fair. So I'm still a Cubs fan, number one, but a team moving to Utah is big. Like, don't get me wrong. And I think the Athletics moving to Las Vegas, that's also big. There's a lot of people in Utah that I think were very similar to the NHL as they are to the MLB. And what I mean by this is, I'm one of these people. I didn't have an NHL team because Utah didn't have an NHL team. I didn't have an NHL team growing up. So, you know, Vegas Golden Knights move in. Geographically, we're actually closer to Las Vegas. And the Knights are the team that helped me realize that hockey is a fun sport, really. I wouldn't say they ever became my team, but I watched enough of it on TV to realize that hockey's fun. And following them through their playoff run was awesome. When they go out and they won the Stanley Cup specifically, that season was one where I really was like, all right, I like this sport. I wouldn't say I fell in love with the team, but I did fall in love with the sport. So when Utah got a team, it was like, all right, maybe I really need to pay attention to this, because now there's a team in Utah. I used to live in the Salt Lake Valley. Like, that is still, that area has a piece of my heart for sure. I was like, all right, I got to be a little bit more all in on this. I feel like there's a lot of people that are like me, but when it comes to baseball, people who they love the sport of baseball, or maybe they don't even know that much about baseball. And maybe they already have a team that they enjoy, but they just haven't latched onto it yet. But they're like, man, if Utah gets a team, I'm in. I'll watch. I'll take part of this. That's fine by me. And so, in my opinion, I think that there is a big market of people who, once Salt Lake City gets a baseball team, they are going to be all in on that team. I have no doubt that Utah will rally around a team for the MLB. And you could say the same thing about other cities, I'm sure. I just feel like Salt Lake should be a front runner from that aspect. The fans will be there. They will show up. I don't have a doubt about that. Again, Nashville's looking like it's going to be high on that list. And I think that's probably fair. Nashville's kind of turning into like, in a way, a Las Vegas of the South, we'll say, where it's a big tourist destination. I think one of the things that makes Vegas work is twofold. Number one, Vegas as a market is starved for local content. What I mean by that is it has always been a vacation destination, but the locals of Las Vegas want something to tie their name to. And so when the Golden Knights moved to town, everyone was like, yes, this is something that we can be like, no, this is ours, right? And then you have the Raiders moving into town, and the Raiders, you have a portion of that, but I have been to a good handful of games for the Raiders. And the amount of people I have seen, for example, I went to a game where they played against the Dolphins. This was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I saw a handful of fans that are from all over the country that are fans of the Dolphins that came to Las Vegas to experience Las Vegas, and hey, while we're here, let's watch our team play. You get a little bit of both of those in Las Vegas. I think the same thing would be said for Nashville when it comes to the MLB. Yeah, it could be said for the Titans as well that are already there. I think the Predators, again, NHL just seems like it's more of a local thing. I don't know how many people are really traveling to go see their favorite team on the road. But I think baseball is one of those that people will travel to see their favorite team on the road. Football is one of those for sure. And so I think with Nashville getting a team, it's going to be a similar thing to Las Vegas. Hey, I might not go to Las Vegas to watch the A's play, but I'll go to Las Vegas to watch the Yankees play the A's. Or whatever it might be, right? People are going to feel that way about it. I think Nashville's in the same boat. People are still going to show up. But it also gives the locals something to latch onto. And I think that's a big thing for that part of the country. So let's break it down. Okay, so I have a little bit of a map here. We'll pull it up for those of you watching on YouTube. But this is my breakdown of what I think the American League and the National League would look like if the MLB expanded. I've talked about this before. This is not a surprise if you've followed the show. This is something that I've talked about now for years, and I'm waiting for the day that I'm going to be correct on this. And so far, nothing has proved me wrong, but I have yet to be proven right. Let's look at the American League first. So, as we take a look here, the American League, this is how things are all set up. Okay, first up, as we look at the American League, we'll see that number one, it's a little different, okay? We're going to look at 4 divisions as opposed to 3. Instead of kind of an East, Central, and West kind of a thing, we're going to go follow the NFL way of doing this. We're going to go North, South, East, West. I think this is, in my opinion, the best way to do this, where you can really hone in on rivalries within that division while still having enough room in your schedule to play against other teams. So the American League, we'll start with the West. And the big thing you'll notice here is that's where I'm going to put this Salt Lake team, this fictional Salt Lake team that eventually will come down in MLB expansion. I think they go in the West. And the biggest reason has to do with the fact that the Texas teams are just too far away from being actually in the West. Geographically, this one makes sense to me. You already have the Mariners. You have Las Vegas, which will be happening soon. Their stadium is going to be ready in the next 2 years. So you'll have those two teams. Then, of course, the Angels in Southern California. So Angels, Mariners, A's, Salt Lake City team, whatever they decide to call them. I think that's a great division. You do get rid of the Rangers. You get rid of Houston. So be it. And I know as I dig into this, there's going to be a lot of people who are like, well, but what about this rivalry? What about this one? What about this one? What about this one? I tried to keep most of them together. But as the game grows, tradition has to fall apart a little bit. It's still baseball. I still want to keep American League and I still want to keep National League. I don't want to see those go away. If I were to set this up like the NHL is set up with 32 teams, then you would see that go away completely and it would all be based off of geographics. I don't want to do that. I like more of the NFL style, the NFC and the AFC. It's the same thing. We're going to go AL, we're going to go NL, but we're going to go 4 divisions. So you may see some of these kind of torn up. You know, we're not going to see Astros and Mariners. Sorry. But geographically, that's so far away anyway. So we're doing away with it. As we move on, though, let's go to the AL North. This is one that's mostly kept together. There's only one team kicked out of this division, and that's the Royals. The Royals are gone. They'll be moving to the South. So you keep the Twins, you keep the White Sox, keep the Tigers, keep the Guardians. I think that's already that is a great division, all based around the Great Lakes region. To me, it's perfect. The AL South, this is where you have the Royals. You got your Texas teams here, the Rangers and the Astros. Throw the Rays in as well. I don't know why the Rays are currently in with a group of teams that have nothing in common with anything but themselves. The Rays are completely the outlier in this scenario. So what do? The AL East, it's everybody else. The Rays were kicked out. Everybody else from that division stays there. The Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles, Yankees. I think that is a great division. So again, recap that for those of you listening. The AL West, Salt Lake, Athletics, Angels, Mariners. The North, the Twins, White Sox, Tigers, Guardians. The AL South, the Royals, Rangers, Astros, Rays. The AL East, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles, Yankees. Hopefully that's something that we can all agree on because, again, to me, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Let's go to the National League. The National League is going to be really interesting as well, just because the geography is a little different in the NL as opposed to the AL. First, we'll go to the West, and this is mostly the same. We're kicking out the Rockies. The California teams all stay there. Throw in the Diamondbacks. Rockies are gone. Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks. It makes sense. The main rivalries are still there. No one has a rivalry with the Rockies anyway. They've been bad for too long. Kick them out. They kind of are in an island there in Colorado, so what do? We got to lump them in somewhere. We're going to put them in the North. The NL North will be the Rockies, the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I feel like some of the best rivalries are between the Cubs, Cardinals, and Brewers anyway. I do know that there's some great rivalries between the Pirates and the Reds and whatnot, but again, things have to change. Traditions have to change. Deal with it. That's all we're going to do. I'm going to say deal with it. Let's go to the South. This is where the new Nashville team comes into play. Tennessee's the South. Put them in the South. It makes sense. You're going to have them in the South. Put them in the South. Nashville's here. The Nationals are also here. The Braves are here and the Marlins are here. I hate breaking up the Braves and the Mets, but we have to do it. It has to be done for the sake of things to make sense. I don't want a Dallas Cowboys in the East kind of situation here. I want to have boundaries that make sense. Okay, so that's just me. The National League team in Nashville. Braves, Nationals, Marlins. That's how we're doing things. That leaves the teams in the East. This will be the Reds, the Pirates, the Phillies, and the Mets. Not my favorite division. I'll be honest. That is not my favorite division. I still kind of like the idea of having the Braves, but what do? I'm sorry. You get rid of it. It is what it is. See you in the playoffs, hopefully, right? Leave that to be a playoff matchup. So that is how everything is set up right now. That's my personal opinion of what I think the realignment would be when expansion comes into play for the MLB. Is it perfect? Maybe not. I don't know if there is a perfect solution, but I think it's as good as any. I think it's as good as any. And I think that Salt Lake is the perfect market. I think that Nashville is a perfect market for MLB expansion. I'd be surprised if it goes anywhere else. And I hope, and this is my personal hope, I hope that they can announce MLB expansion this offseason. It's going to be hard because we have contract negotiations going on this offseason as well. We're facing a potential lockout if they don't get things into place for the MLB over the winter. And, hopefully that we'll be ready by March to have spring ball. There's a good possibility we won't see that. So there are other things at play right now. But even if there is expansion that is announced, I will say, if there is expansion that is announced, I think you've got to give these markets a couple of years. They both have AAA baseball teams. You do have a Nashville AAA team and you have a Salt Lake AAA team. So you have stadiums in place if you really wanted to try to rush things and get a team into place first. I think you give the announcement and then give them a handful of years to build out a stadium. That's what I personally would do. If that were the case, they should have announced this a few years ago because I think these markets are ready. But I think they can make it work. You have two ballparks in Salt Lake. Smith's Ballpark is still there. They could put a team in Smith's Ballpark, and right now the Bees are playing in the Daybreak America First Field. So you do have a couple ballparks in Salt Lake you could throw a team into. Obviously, you're looking at the difference between seating 10,000 versus seating 30 to 40,000 people. I would hope that expansion happens sooner than later, though. The announcement needs to happen now. I think announce it now, give these cities time to build up the infrastructure, and maybe we'll be ready by 2030. Probably not. Let's actually maybe say 2031, 2032. That's what I would guess is when we're going to be seeing expansion take place, when we're actually going to be seeing baseball on the field, MLB baseball in these states. It's not going to be until about 2031 to 2032 if things moved quickly. We'll see. It's a long ways away. That is a long ways away. About 3 years ago, I said in the next 5 years, we'd have the announcement. We got 2 more years to get that announcement done. We'll see if it happens. It'll be fun, though. I'm excited. I would love to see some MLB in Utah. I'd love to see some MLB in Utah. Today's show brought to you by the Utah State Long Drive Competition. That's going to be going on next week. Coral Canyon Golf Course. Make sure to get on out to Coral Canyon Golf Course. Again, this is happening on June 12th and 13th. If you are in southern Utah and you want to take place in the long drive, just head on over to thefansportsnetwork.com. Again, that is thefansportsnetwork.com. It is super easy to get to and super easy to fill out your forms and get everything ready to go to participate in the long drive. If you've never done a long drive before, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not that far off from what it sounds like, which is just the fact that you're participating in a long drive. Here's what the page looks like for those of you watching on YouTube and some of the information. Again, this is all through thefansportsnetwork.com. Click on the contest tab, look for 2026 long drive. Down at the bottom, there are forms that you can fill out. We have the Long Drive Championship itself, which is going to be featuring a good handful of groups. There's 10 different divisions between men's local amateur, pro open, women's open, men's senior, 40 and over, super seniors 50 and over, and then masters 60 and over. There's juniors divisions as well for both boys and girls. So come on out, play along. It's going to be a lot of fun and test those long drive skills. There's also going to be different things as well, like putting competitions, closest to competitions, and the 4-man scramble happening on the morning of the 13th. So make sure to come on out for all of that. Get your teams in now for the Utah State long drive and scramble. All of that coming up as of today, coming up in about a week and a half. It's going to be so much fun. I'll be there. I'm going to be taking part in the scramble, which will be fun. Probably not doing the long drive. I would lose because I am not a golfer, but I enjoy playing golf. It'll be awesome. Get on out. Coral Canyon Golf Course, our gracious hosts for the 22nd annual Utah State long drive. Now, let's talk about one last thing before we wrap up the show today, and that is that the NHL and the NBA finals are getting started relatively soon. NHL finals are getting started for Stanley Cup is here. That is today, 6 o'clock. Golden Knights at the Hurricanes. Golden Knights are a surprise to me to be here. The fact that they swept through the Avalanche was crazy. I thought the Avs were going to go in, and I thought they were going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I really did. So the Golden Knights right now are a bit of a surprise for me. And because of that, at what point do the wheels fall off the wagon? I don't know. I know we're in Vegas territory, so this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think I'm going to go with the Hurricanes in 6. That's going to be my guess. Hurricanes in 6. And I hope I'm wrong. I kind of want to see Vegas bring home another one just because we have so many fans here. I love it when I get to be a part of local teams doing big things. And to me, Vegas Golden Knights are somewhat of a local team. Even though we are in southern Utah, they are geographically our closest NHL team. So I'd like to see them do well. I'd like to see them win the Stanley Cup. But I think the Hurricanes are going to do it. I'm going to go Canes in 6. That's my personal opinion. Tonight's game, I'm giving it to Carolina as well. So tonight is going to be Carolina. Game 2 will go Golden Knights. Why not? Just to change things up a little bit. So we have that going on tonight. Of course, we got the NBA Finals as well. That's going to be kicking off here tomorrow. The Spurs hosting the Knicks for Game 1 tomorrow, 6:30 local time here, Mountain Time, I should say, for us. So that will be 8:30 Eastern. I kind of get the feeling this is going to be the Spurs in... I'm going to say the Spurs in 6 as well. I'm going to say 6 games here. Spurs are going to win it. The Knicks will take home a couple. But I gotta be honest. I don't know if I really have a dog in the fight here with this one. You know, the Spurs turn around from being absolutely horrible for the last few seasons. They've spent 3 seasons being really bad. It's good to see them taking that step and making the turn and being really good. I saw the Spurs play against the Jazz, the Utah Jazz last year. I have to rack my brain to make sure it was last year. It was actually 2 years ago. It was Victor Wembanyama's rookie season, whatever year that was. Wembanyama's rookie season, saw him, and he's great. I'll be honest, he is very good. He's a very good basketball player. It was good to see him play, and again, it was his rookie season, whenever that was, and it's only just been a couple years. But to know that, seeing that team then, I was like, yeah, these guys do have potential. They're just young. And so to see that come to fruition is really cool. For anybody that's been following along with the postseason here, the series against OKC was great. It really was a good series, and OKC was a good opponent. I think the Knicks will be a good opponent as well. I think it's good to see the Knicks there. I think it's good for basketball when the largest market in America is being represented at the biggest stage as well. Playoff basketball in MSG, not just playoff, the NBA Finals in MSG. It's got to be rocking. I mean, I can't imagine what New York City is going to be going through with the Knicks playing in the finals, but it's going to be cool. This is going to be a really fun series. I'm excited for it. So that all kicks off again tomorrow at 6:30. Okay, that wraps it up from the Bleachers here on the Fan Sports Network. Thank you for listening to the podcast or watching on our YouTube page. Subscribe before you go so that you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. And we've got a lot to get to this summer. Obviously, NFL offseason. We've got NBA draft coming up. We'll be doing some big draft stuff. And then, of course, different MLB things throughout the year as well. And so much more. Obviously, a lot to talk about in sports just about every single day. And so stick around with From the Bleachers. That's it for me. Thank you for joining us on the show again. And until next time, have a good one.